She doesn't chase you. She doesn't beg. She doesn't need to. Her power is not in what she does, but in what she represents to the unlit corners of your soul. She lives in the silence between your thoughts, a ghost haunting the hallways of your mind. And you, far from being terrified, find yourself hoping for the visitation. You think of her when the first light of dawn touches the window pane, and her imagined approval is the unseen compass that guides every decision you make throughout the day. She is the invisible audience for your triumphs and the silent judge of your failures. And when she is gone, when her presence recedes like the tide, it isn't just a feeling of loss. It is a cataclysmic collapse. The architecture of your inner world, built on the fragile foundation of her validation, crumbles into dust, leaving you in a desolate landscape of your own making. Here is the truth you must face, the truth that will feel like a betrayal before it feels like freedom. This is not love. It is not a sacred connection between two souls. It is an addiction, a desperate craving for a substance you believe only she can provide. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung had a name for this phenomenon. He would call her an Anima Projection. She is a psychological mirage, a shimmering oasis in the desert of your own emotional neglect. You do not see her, the complex, flawed, beautiful human being who walks the earth. You see a reflection, not of her, but of your own unlived soul. You have projected all the missing parts of yourself, your tenderness, your creativity, your capacity for wonder, your unhealed pain, onto her form. She has become the canvas upon which you have painted your salvation. She is your muse, your obsession, the reason you feel you exist. And the most tragic part of this grand, self-imposed drama is that she never auditioned for the role. You handed it to her without her consent, and now you are bound to a play of your own scripting. This is the subtle, devastating power of the feminine shadow. It is not the femme fatale in a red dress, the obvious seductress who breaks hearts for sport. No, the true shadow is far more insidious. It is the internal woman, that unconscious feminine force that resides within every man. And when you have not learned to integrate this force, to honor it within yourself, it will control you from the outside. When you haven't integrated her, she becomes your deity. Every glance she offers feels like a divine blessing. Every moment of her silence feels like a cosmic punishment. Every casual compliment she utters is misunderstood for salvation. You are caught in a relentless game of seeking and losing, a roller coaster of emotional highs and devastating lows, all orchestrated by the phantom you've placed on a throne. But you are not seeing her. You are seeing the wounded part of yourself that you never learned to love. And that, my friend, is precisely why you cannot stop chasing her. You are not chasing a woman. You are chasing the part of your own soul that you abandoned long ago. Jung taught that the anima is the very archetype of life itself, a force of emotion, mystery, intuition, and chaos. But life, when it is not understood and integrated, becomes a source of profound suffering. The roots of this suffering run deep, back to a time when you were taught to build a fortress around your heart. You were a boy, and you were told in 1,000 unspoken ways that your emotions were a liability. Don't cry. Be a man. Stay strong. Conquer your feelings. You were never taught how to hold your own vulnerability, how to find strength in softness. And so you performed the role society assigned you. You learned to suppress, to rationalize, to build an exterior of competence and control, while a vast unacknowledged part of your psyche was exiled into the darkness. This exiled part is your anima, It is your emotional body, your capacity for connection, your creativity, your inner softness. And what you repress does not die, it waits. It waits in the shadows, growing more potent, more desperate for expression. Then, one day, it finds a way out. It shows up in the form of a woman who seems to hold the key to everything you've ever lost. She seems to complete you. But Jung warned us that this feeling of completion is a dangerous illusion, because what you are really doing is outsourcing your soul. You are giving a stranger the keys to the most sacred, vulnerable part of your being. And when you do that, her presence or absence dictates your entire reality. This is why heartbreak can feel like a death. It's not merely about losing her, it's about the terror of losing the part of yourself that you entrusted to her, the part you didn't know how to hold alone. Now, here is where the cycle becomes truly perilous. The more unconscious you are of your own anima, the more power you grant to the external woman who wears its mask. When your inner feminine is exiled, the outer feminine becomes an all-consuming obsession. You idealize her, placing her on a pedestal so high she can no longer be seen as human. You serve her, you crave her, you fear her. You begin to confuse her approval with your own self-worth. She becomes your drug. A single moment of her attention feels like a euphoric hit, flooding your system with purpose and vitality. A moment of her withdrawal feels like the agonizing pain of withdrawal, leaving you empty, panicked, and desperate. You tolerate red flags that you would never accept from anyone else. You ignore blatant manipulation. You abandon your own truth, your own values, your own boundaries, just to keep her close. But this is not her fault. It is yours. You have handed her a role, your mirror, your mother, your muse, your savior, and eventually your destroyer, that she never agreed to play. This is the terrible curse of unconscious anima projection. You create a goddess and then resent her for failing to be divine. This pattern is a timeless human tragedy. Jung saw it everywhere, from ancient mythology to the modern relationships he witnessed in his clinical practice. It is the man who worships the femme fatale, sacrificing his life for a woman who embodies the mystery he has disowned in himself. It is the man who blames all his pain on her, never realizing it's his own soul crying out to be met. But here is where the turning point, the moment of potential transformation. The anima is not your enemy, she is your teacher. Every time you feel that desperate, addictive pull toward a woman's presence, she is showing you the parts of yourself you have abandoned. Every time you find yourself desperately chasing her approval, she is revealing your profound lack of self-trust. Every time you feel hollow and empty without her, she is pointing to the void inside you that only you can fill. Until you do this work, you will keep falling into the same heartbreaking cycle. You will keep attracting women who reflect your inner chaos, who mirror your deep yearning, who embody your wounded feminine, because the feminine within you has not yet been integrated. The goal is not to kill desire or to suppress love. The goal is integration. It is the act of reclaiming your own emotional depth so that love becomes a choice, not a desperate dependency. It is so that your relationships can be sacred, not sacrificial. It is so that she is no longer your drug, but your equal. Jung believed that when a man makes peace with his anima, he becomes whole. This wholeness is not softness or weakness. It is a different kind of power, a power rooted in self-knowledge and self-acceptance. He no longer needs to chase the woman he imagines because he has finally found her inside himself. And when you do that, she can never own you again because you no longer need her to be your salvation. You have already met your own soul. You meet her, and something inside you feels a magnetic pull. It's not just physical attraction, it's a deep psychological resonance. You feel seen, understood, alive in a way you haven't felt before. But then, the shift begins. You're checking your phone compulsively. You're crafting the perfect messages, rehearsing conversations in your head, all in a desperate bid for her approval. Worst of all, you are no longer present in your own body, in your own life. You are orbiting her. This is not love. It is spiritual dependency, and it has dire consequences. The more power you give to this projected anima, the more powerless you become in your real life. You lose your masculine center, not the alpha male caricature, but your inner ground, your ability to say no, to walk away, to know who you are without external permission. Instead of leading your life, you become a servant to your own craving. This addiction doesn't just damage your relationship with her, it distorts all your relationships, with friends, with family, with your purpose, even with your sense of the divine. Because now, everything is filtered through her presence or her absence. That is the ultimate cost. You outsource your soul. And what's worse, you begin to attract pain, because when you are operating from an unconscious wound, you will unconsciously choose the person who perfectly matches that wound. You will be drawn to women who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or manipulative, not because you deserve it, but because that chaos feels familiar. It mirrors the emotional inconsistency you felt growing up, the conditional love, the fear of abandonment, the constant need to earn closeness. So, you stay, you justify, you suffer. And every time she pulls away, you collapse. Not because she left, but because the part of you that was clinging to her identity had no foundation of its own. This creates a brutal, self-perpetuating loop. You crave her energy, she becomes cold or distant, you panic and chase her, she pulls even further away, and you feel rejected and worthless. You blame her, or worse, you blame yourself. You promise to do better, to earn her back, and the cycle repeats, each rotation making your own world smaller and smaller. You stop pursuing your purpose. You isolate yourself from friends. You numb out with distractions. You lose connection to your masculine edge, your clarity, your direction, your fire. Because addiction kills passion. The deeper you sink into this obsession, the more fragmented your own identity becomes. But here's the deepest consequence of all. You never become who you were meant to be. The vast energy that was meant to build your vision, your life, your soul, is being spent chasing a projection. Jung believed that the first half of life is about building the ego, our career, our relationships, our place in the world. But the second half is about integration, about facing the unconscious and becoming whole. If you don't do this work, if you let your anima remain projected onto others, she will own you forever. Every failed relationship will feel like a profound betrayal. Every heartbreak will feel like a death. Every time a woman leaves, it will feel as though your world has ended, because you have mistaken a human being for your own lost inner feminine. This is what Jung called psychic possession. You are no longer yourself. You are an addict, a slave to the internal force you refuse to confront. And the worst part is that society doesn't warn you about this. It celebrates it. It sells you songs, movies, and quotes that glorify this kind of obsession. If she's not your everything, she's nothing. Real love never dies. I can't breathe without you. But this isn't love. This is fragmentation. True love, real conscious connection, begins only when you stop needing another person to complete you. It begins when you can stand whole in your own soul, when you embrace your own anima. It begins when she is no longer a drug, but a mirror. Because until you do that, every love will hurt, every loss will destroy you, and every her will only be a substitute for the you've never fully met. So how do you break free? Not from her. You break free from the version of yourself that made her your everything. Carl Jung didn't say, get over her. He said, go within. The answer is not to chase less, but to reclaim more of yourself. And that begins with a hard, sacred truth. She is not your missing half. She is your mirror. Everything she awakened in you, your tenderness, your desire, your chaos, your fear, your awe, was already inside you. She did not give it to you. She revealed it. And now, you must own it. Start here. Sit in silence, not to escape her memory, but to feel your body again, to come home to the ache that has been waiting for you all your life. Breathe into it. No stories, no blame. Just breath, just grief, just truth. Say it out loud if you must. I miss her because I miss myself. Because every time you begged for her affection, you were really begging for your own attention, for your own forgiveness, for your own love. And now you give it. You hold the boy inside you who was told he was too emotional. You embrace the part of you that longs for beauty, for mystery, for softness. You become the father and the mother to yourself that you never had. You stop outsourcing your soul. This is not weakness. This is the deepest masculine courage. To sit with the ache without numbing. To feel without flinching. To weep without shame. To stand without needing applause. This is integration. This is what Jung called individuation. This is how you reclaim your anima, not as a fantasy in someone else's body, but as a living, breathing force within your own heart. When you do this work, everything changes. The next time you meet her, whoever she may be, you will not fall into obsession. You will not collapse into performance. You will not hand her your worth like a gift wrapped in desperation. You will see her fully, clearly, without the fog of projection. And if she stays, it is love. And if she goes, it is still love, because she is no longer your drug. You are no longer starving. You are finally and completely full. The meeting of two personalities, Jung said, is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But the man who has faced his inner feminine doesn't lose himself in that transformation. He expands. He no longer fears abandonment, for he cannot abandon himself. He no longer chases illusions, for he is grounded in his own truth. He no longer looks for God in someone else's eyes because he has remembered the divine spark within. This is not the end of desire. It is the beginning of conscious love, of sacred union, of a soul connection that does not feed on fear but thrives on freedom. And that, my friend, is a life worth living. Now ask yourself, who was the woman you projected your soul onto? And what did she really come to teach you about yourself?